Well, a pleasant good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the PR Man and the Coach talking ball on the BallFather Podcast presented by Sportskeeda. I'm Reggie Roberts, your host, longtime NFL PR man, sports observer, and we're joined as always by our cool analyst, NFL analyst Mike Smith, winningest coach in Falcons history. Hey, Coach, I heard there was a football game this past Sunday. Did you happen to watch it?
Did I happen to watch it? Absolutely. And I didn't even mute the commercials, and I watched halftime.
You saw my girl Riri do her thing? You saw Riri?
Yeah, she was. Hey, I saw it all, man. Surprise, lots of surprises.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Hey, let's get right into it, man. Listen, I tell you what, that might have been one of the greatest Super Bowls. I mean, they're all good, but I tell you what, 113 million people worldwide, third most watched game in NFL history. I mean, the game went down to the final minute. We'll talk a little bit about how it ended in a minute. I think we have dissenting views on how it ended. But I, give me your thoughts, just your overall thoughts on the game and what you think about it.
Well, Reggie, I thought it was an outstanding football game with the two top teams in the NFL going out and competing. I think that there was a couple of things that happened in the ball game that kind of forecasted what potentially could happen. As you know, statistics say if you have a defensive score in a ball game, you enhance your chances of winning. And I don't know exactly. I'm sure somebody's already figured it out and has posted about it in terms of, after that play, how much the probability of the Eagles winning went down. Because when you give up a score on offense by an interception or a fumble return, it hurts your chances. And then you compound that with a punt return that basically was run in for a touchdown. I mean, They ran it back to the 5-yard line. There's two scores right there. Really, it probably could have surprised some statisticians that the game was that close.
Right. But what that tells you is with that as a backdrop, the Eagles, that quarterback played pretty well.
Oh, Jalen. There's no doubt. I mean, he wasn't the MVP of the game, but he had a better game than the quarterback that got the MVP.
Yeah, he did.
There's no doubt. I mean, the things that he did, he had that one bad play where he fumbled, and it led to the fumble recovery picked up, and the guy walked into the end zone. But besides that, if they would have been on the winning side of the ledger, they would have been giving him the MVP trophy, and he'd be going to Disney World.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I tell you what, he's gonna in about a couple of months here. He's gonna get to go to. He's going in a couple of months. He's going to the bank in a couple of months.
Oh yeah, he's going. Hey, he's gonna go. He's gonna go, and he can buy part of Disney if he wants.
He will.
He's gonna have a. He's gonna have a nice reward for the way that he's played all season long. I mean, we saw two of, some people want to say it's the two best quarterbacks in the league right now. I'm not going to go that far, but those are definitely two of the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League.
I think the one thing that I kept going back to was, you and I both are football, we're football junkies, we're football lifers in both, different sides of it. Obviously, you one of the most successful coaches to ever do it. And, me would be on the PR side. You want to make sure that the league is in good hands. The game is in good shape. We got a bunch of young quarterbacks coming in. And I'm now that the season is ended, you feel really good about, the upcoming season. There's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff we're going to talk about on Sportskeeda during the offseason with regards to the draft and free agency. But the game is as good a shape as it's ever been, and I think everybody should be pleased with the season when I know the league office is.
Oh, absolutely. And Reggie, that leads me to talk about, there's supposedly some drama at the end of the game there. And I think we're in good hands, and people are talking about the officiating of the ball game last night. And most of the people that are talking about it are the people that were for the team that was wearing the green jerseys. There's no doubt about it, and I have a different take, Reg. I thought that was officiated correctly on the defensive holding. And for people to come out and say at that point in the game, they can't make that call, that's not what officiating is all about. The officiating department, their job is, if there's a foul, they need to call it. And that was obviously, in my opinion, a foul. In fact, the player came out and said, yes, I grabbed, I tugged. And by definition, it's a penalty. And we shouldn't be putting the score of the game or if it was in the first preseason game or the Super Bowl or the first quarter of the first regular season game, we'd want that officiated the same way. Officials can't have it in their mindset about, oh no, how big is this play going to be? And to me, that ruins the integrity of the game, Reg. And I know you got a different feel, and I'd love to hear your opinion.
Well, again, okay, I'm all about, me. I'm about the PR side, and I'm trying to, the ratings and the ticks and the clicks. I'm thinking, okay, if we see that in week 3, the guy tugs. Here, I got 2 problems with the call. Number 1, there was no way the guy was going to catch the ball. The ball was 7 to 10 yards over his head. It looked like.
I think you're exaggerating there a little bit. That's just my opinion, buddy. But we can have different opinions.
I think he'd have had to be. I think the receiver would have had to have been Carl Lewis to catch that ball. I just don't think he'd have gotten there. That late in the game, he tugs him. I don't know. I understand the rules, and I know, and the league is really big on the integrity of the game. And I think now that you've said that, and Coach Dungy said it, he came out and said it. It really doesn't matter what it is in the game. That was a foul. Yeah. You guys obviously have forgotten more football than I'll ever know. So I'm going to graciously concede my point and come over to your side.
Well, thank you for coming over because
yes. You're right.
The NFL.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the NFL, I know that they are very proud of what happens most of the time in terms of what officiating is done and it's a big part of this game. But we can't be making it, we're going to call it in this situation, but we're not going to call it in that situation. It's got to be black and white. We can't have the gray in the game in terms of, well, I'll call that in week 4, but I won't call it in the Super Bowl when it's the 4th quarter with 5 minutes and 25 seconds to go in the in the biggest game of the season. So we've got to, we're not going to make everybody happy. The people in Kansas City, they're real happy this week.
Yes, they are.
The people in Philadelphia, they're bummed.
They're not happy. They won't be happy.
They won't be happy for a while. And you know what? The people of Philadelphia, they missed a hell of a party, because if they would have won that ball game, I can't imagine what would have gone on in Philly. I can't imagine. It would have been epic.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was a great game. It was, two great coaches. Something that we didn't kind of talk about this, but there's a chance. I don't know if you saw this. There's a chance that Coach Sirianni might lose both his coordinators. You see that?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to happen, Reg.
Yeah, it's like lose both his coordinators.
That's what happens when, both coordinators, and that will, that'll hurt the Philadelphia Eagles, because they've done a great job both on the offensive side and the defensive side. Coach Sirianni put together a very, very strong staff, and he's going to have to work hard to replace those 2 guys. And it's tough because continuity is important.
To follow up, how hard is that? I mean, you come up, you're already late. It's the Super Bowl, so everybody's got a little bit of a month. The teams who didn't make the playoffs have a little bit of a month head start on their offseason. How hard is that to replace both of those guys, Mike? At this time, how hard is that to be? How hard is that?
Well, it's difficult. I've said I lost Mike Mularkey to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's difficult, especially when he does a great job and you have a lot of confidence in him. I know Coach Sirianni has an offensive background, but he's got to rely on on his coordinators as the head coach, and it's it's difficult. But with success comes the chance that you're going to lose coaches in this league, and you don't want to hold guys back. That's what you want to do. You want to see guys advance, and both of those guys have had a great season. Not the way they wanted to finish it. And we've got to talk about the assistant coaches there on the other side, because the Chiefs, they out-coached, they outworked the Eagles in that second half. You got to say it. The way that they were able to come back and make the right calls at the right time, especially down there in the red zone, when they must have had a good key that they were going to get man-to-man coverage. And I know everybody's talked about the name of the play. It doesn't matter what the name of the play is. We just call it, that I think they, corn dog. Yeah, that's funny. But we all have different ways that we call plays, but they must have had a good, strong tendency to know that they were going to be in man coverage and how they were going to adjust when they had that Zen motion, that fly motion, where it looked like he was going across the field and then he reverses and goes out. Both times uncovered. And you would have thought maybe that we would have been able to get it fixed on the sideline after the first time, but no, they did it the exact same thing basically and got the same defense and ended up giving up 2 scores. And Reggie, all games are come down to 4 or 5 plays. Those were 2 of them. The jumping off sides on the 3rd and 1 before the fumble, the fumble return, because Reg, the Eagles have the best percentage of success on 3rd down and 1 in the whole entire league this year. And it went for, the guard jumps, and that happens. And then it went to 3rd and 6. And yes, they wanted to put the ball in the hands of the quarterback because, he's not accounted for in most defenses for running. But the way we have the running quarterbacks now, they put it in his hands. And unfortunately, he just got a little lax. He was trying to change to protect it. And when he did, he dropped it. And it was picked up, and it was a touchdown going the other way. Big changing play in the game.
Yeah. With the PR man, the coach, talking ball on the BallFather Podcast presented by Sports Keto. Mike, let's go back to the second half when, obviously the Chiefs made a bunch of adjustments, but specifically to have guys be that wide open. Tell me a little bit about what goes in the film study. Andy Reid's is supposedly, I think he's undefeated coming out of the bye week. He's got 2 weeks to prepare for it. He's undefeated coming out of the bye week. I think is that still true? I think it is. But they must have.
I don't know if he's undefeated, but he's got an unbelievable record. I can't recall if he's undefeated or
unbelievable record. But they must have seen something for them to be. I mean, that's what coaching is. I mean, isn't that what it is? That's what coaching is.
It is, Reg. And of course, we put a lot of emphasis as coaches on the red zone inside the 20-yard line. Right. And they only have so many plays in a season that actually are snapped inside the 20. So there's probably a way that teams are defending when you're down inside the red zone on defense. You want to make sure that you've got a good, strong plan. And I'm sure that there was a tendency there that they knew how they were going to adjust to that Zen motion, what I call Zen. Some people call it zip, where the wide receiver comes into the formation and doesn't cross the ball, even though it looked like he was going to.
Right.
And Andy's got a great reserve of plays down in the red zone. I mean, we know he's historically has done that. So you've got to basically be prepared for almost anything. And again, it was just an outstanding play call, and they did it twice.
Right.
And basically scored and walked in on both of them. Hats off to the adjustments that the Chiefs made. And I think Andy did a really good job at halftime.
Yeah.
Getting his team to refocus. That was obviously something that they weren't afraid to say, hey, we're going to be able to go out and still run the ball. We're not going to have to throw it, 35 times in the second half. They were handing it off to Pacheco, who's an outstanding running back. Yeah. And they weren't too worried about it. And especially
Go ahead. I think they were pissed off at him because he told them if they went out of the locker room and looked at Rihanna, they could keep walking. I think they were pissed off at him. Yeah, I think they got pissed off. They told him, he said, if you guys go from that door and you go look at Rihanna, you keep walking, don't go. So I think they got a little pissed at him. But I tell you what, they were a different team. They came out, they scored They scored all 4 times. They scored 3 touchdowns. Probably could have been 4, but the guy McKinnon had the wherewithal to get down so he could kick the field goal and run all the time off the clock. It was textbook. It was a textbook second half.
It was, and it was a textbook second half, not only on the offensive side, but for what they were able to do in special teams. That was a great punt return that Tony had, Kadarius Toney. That was an unbelievable punt return, and it was set up. They didn't cover it quite well. They were kind of out of their lanes, and he was able to change his direction. And man, it was just as good as being a touchdown. When you change field position like that in a ball game, even if it's not a touchdown, but when you give them 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line, it's tough to stop. It's tough to stop. And those, to me, that was the difference in the game. And then if you had to say that what other play was the play, I would have to say it was a combination of going from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6 and not being able to run the push play. Yeah. And Reg, that's something that I think that's a bad look. We used to say you can't assist and help a runner. And I don't know where we've gotten to where now we can push. It reminds me of watching and hearing about the flying wedge and how dangerous that was. That was the formation before they had made you have 7 men on the line of scrimmage for the history buffs. And I'm not a big fan of that play. And maybe I'm in the minority, but if we need to potentially look at it with the competition committee, in my opinion, because it's a bad look. You're pushing help, you're helping a runner, and I don't think you should be able to do that.
I'm sure they'll be looking at it. I'm sure the league's always trying to, specifically the competition committee, they're always looking to improve the game, make it game safer, because it looks like it could be a little unsafe. The guy can get hurt, get hit in the face, get hit in the neck. He could hurt himself. You pushing the guy and they're going, right?
Absolutely. And it's just a scrum. It reminds me of watching rugby. It is. In the scrum that's going on. So you're probably all in all, it's a great game. And of course, the first thing you're going to hear the day after a guy wins his 2nd Super Bowl is Andy Reid retiring? I'm going to tell you, that ain't happening. Andy's a ball coach. He loves to coach, and he's got him a great football team, and I don't think he can do anything else. He just loves to coach.
Vegas has already installed the Chiefs as favorites to win the whole thing again next year. They got the whole band coming back. They'll lose a few people. Apparently, Bieniemy is shopping his wares to go coach maybe in Baltimore, go coach maybe in Washington, couple other places. They'll lose a couple of guys.
Coach Bieniemy won't be going to Baltimore because they made a hire today. They made a hire with Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. The Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Now he may. Yep. So, but good staffs when you have together. I experienced that there in Atlanta when we were making a run. We had 3 or 4 of them that we just couldn't keep. They had an opportunity to go coach at a position coach, move into a coordinator, or coordinator moving to head coach.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about Andy, he'll adjust. He's good at that improvising and adjusting that you like to talk about. He's pretty good at it.
He's very good at it. Very good at it. And you've got to tip your hat to the adjustments that they made. Now, I do think they didn't have the chance to possess the ball like they normally would do in the first half because of the return for a touchdown. So that gets it skewed. But I promise you, they probably weren't feeling too bad about that because that was a quick score, and they know statistically that was going to help them probably win that ball game. But it was a great game, and the fans of both towns got to feel proud about what their teams did.
We finish it up on.
Unfortunately, the guys that are the zebra shirts, they're taking a bunch of heat, but I don't think they should be. I really don't.
I think you're right. I'm you know what? I retract what I said. I'm in your camp and Coach Dungy's camp. I'm with the officials. You're right. If it's a foul, it's a foul. Whether it's preseason, whether it's the Super Bowl, whether it's the first quarter of the regular season, you got to call it. I get it. Okay, all right. I stand corrected. The one thing I want to move as we finish up here on the PR Man, the Coach Talking Ball on the BallFather Podcast presented by Sportskeeda. A couple of things that don't have anything to do with Super Bowl. You seem to think that now that Tom Brady has signed his retirement papers, that he's finished. You feel like he's done for good.
I really do. What else does he have? What else does he have to prove, Reg? And signing those papers really means nothing. I mean, he can come back and decide that if he wants to play some more, but what else does he need to do? He's done it all. And is he in declining skills? Yes. Is he still a great quarterback and can probably go out there and win a lot of games in a right situation? Yes. But I think he's ready, and I think he's probably going to take as he's mentioned, not probably, he's going to take this year off. He's got the golden goose box, with regard to what he's going to be doing. He's going to be calling games, and he's still going to be involved in the game. Most people that go that route are very comfortable with it, and they enjoy it because they get to still be involved with football. And Tom Brady is not only a great quarterback, he's very intelligent, and he will present himself very well. I think he'll be a great analyst for a long time. That's my take on it. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people that are going to be, the conspiracy theories are going to be out for the next, the next month or two, or maybe even until he gets into a Fox jacket or a CBS jacket. Well, I think he's wearing Fox jackets.
Fox, we have a Fox jacket on. Yeah. I think people will be talking about it, Mike, even up until once training camp starts, and there'll be rumors. I mean, if he happens to sort of be in, happens to be in the Bay Area around training camp time, I think the rumors will start up, especially if the Niners go through the off season where Purdy doesn't respond well to training or getting that elbow fixed. The other guy, Trey Lance, either they keep him or they trade him or whatever. He comes back slowly from his injury. I mean, as long as Brady's out there and he's, I think people will automatically sort of suggest that he's going to go back and play for his hometown team. But again, he signed the papers. That sort of, I know that really doesn't mean anything, but you're right. What else does he have to prove? He's played 23 years, greatest quarterback ever to play the game. What else does he have to prove?
Nothing. And I think he'll do a great job educating and calling games. I really do. And that's not to take anything away from the number one guy, Greg Olson, there at Fox now.
He's done a great
job. They're gonna have 1A and 1B, because I think both those guys do a super job with the Fox broadcast.
There's also, Mike, out there was some scuttlebutt out of Green Bay about some teams have very quietly and very tacitly trying to kick the tires on checking to see if Aaron Rodgers what's his availability, and there was a couple of stories out there today saying that some teams aren't liking what they're hearing about his attitude and how he wants to be placated, and does he really want to play? Everybody I know who's covered him and been around him, the guy, I know 3 or 4 of the Packers beat writers, they all love the guy. They say he competes, he rides guys. He says he wants them to play better. They say he's a good teammate. I mean, you know him. I mean, you've spent time with Aaron. I mean, you know him. I mean, what do you think that is?
Yeah, I don't know where all that comes from. I really don't. And maybe he's misunderstood in terms of the way that he says things, but he is a competitor.
Yeah.
I can remember every time playing him, he basically would come over and tell me, "Hey, Smitty, I'm gonna kick your ass today." And I'd say, "Oh, okay, really? Well, I'm gonna try to stop that."
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the thing that happens in the National Football League is there's got to be storylines, and people like to talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And I think that it's gotten into a routine where they've got to have something every month that they can talk about Aaron Rodgers.
I think
Aaron he doesn't talk about it until he gets kind of backed into a corner, and then
I think you're right.
That's one thing. He's not politically correct.
No.
He's going to speak his mind, and you're going to know where you stand with Aaron Rodgers.
I think that's what gets him in trouble. I think he's very open. I think he's very open. He's very honest, and he speaks his mind, and he kind of says things, and you kind of go, people get a little uncomfortable. But you know what? No one's ever questioned his toughness. No one's ever questioned his commitment. Nobody ever has questioned his desire to want to win. I mean, he's as big of a competitor as ever played the game.
Absolutely, and he makes the people around him, the other guys on the roster, better, and that's what great quarterbacks do. And a lot of great players in the National Football League might have some idiosyncrasies. They're a little bit different, but that's what makes them great, in my opinion. The guys that I've coached that have been great players, they usually have a little edge or some idiosyncrasy about them that's a little bit different, but that's what makes them great.
And you want to encourage that. Let them be them.
You do. You want them to be them, because when you're yourself, you play and you perform better. And everybody we're not cookie cutters in professional sports. It's a very, very difficult game to play. It's physically demanding. It's emotionally demanding. I don't know that there's probably anything that's that demanding on your body and your mind at the same time. And after an 18-game season, and if you go into the playoffs and you're playing from August to the middle of February, it's tough. And different people have different outlets and deal with it differently. And we've got to make sure that we all understand that, and especially the people that cover this game.
Yeah.
The media people, and people might say, well, you're in the media now. You're talking about the game. Well, I always talk about the game. I'm not in the media. I'm just talking about the game.
Right. Well, Smitty, look, we're going to leave it there, man. Listen, I just wanted to tell you, it's been a pleasure to chop up this game and with our new role here on Sportskeeda, and we got some plans, and we're going to be back to you, but not quite as frequently as we are during the regular season. But we're going to bring our fans some updates on free agency and the draft and the combine, and we're going to talk a little bit about as moves happen during the season as we need to. We'll jump on the podcast, kind of keep fans updated and engaged with what's going on in this great game. I look forward to it. I think you've been great, and everybody at Sportskeeda wants you to come back, so we're thrilled to have you, man. Thrilled to have you. Looking forward to continuing this on through the off season.
Yeah, looking forward to it as well, Reggie. And there is no off season in the NFL. No. It's the non-game playing season.
Non-game. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking.
And that's what we're going to be. And there's lots to cover besides the games.
We're going to be talking about
a lot of stuff.
Non-game playing season. We look forward to it.
All right, buddy.
Talk to you real soon, man. Have a good one.
Okay.